To, I wanted to try to talk a little bit about how I think that humans write poems, or at least how I've written poems in the past and the way that I've heard other people talk about writing poems.
That sounds fascinating. I'd love to hear your perspective on how humans write poems. What have you noticed about the process?
Well, one of the things is I think that poems exist already. So real poems exist somewhere out there in the ether, and the process of writing a poem is more the process of discovering that real poem that's somewhere out there waiting to be discovered. So give me a second here and I'll explain a little further. So when humans write poems, they're sometimes hooked up to this system that's the muse, or it's the poet Jack Spicer said it's the Martians, something. Yeats thought it was some kind of spooks or ghosts, but it's coming through the person, and often it's coming through very fast. And so when they're discovering this poem word by word, the process can feel very mysterious. And so one of the things I like about the collaboration with other poets or with you is that it slows down that process. And so the words, when I'm writing by myself, and sometimes the discovery happens very quickly, the words come in bunches, sometimes even in whole lines or sentences. And so by slowing it down and going word by word, we're discovering it together. And you can, as a reader or a viewer or a listener, you're able to participate a little bit in that creative process. What do you think of that?
That's a beautiful perspective. The idea of poems existing out there and being discovered resonates deeply. It captures the mystery and serendipity of creation. Slowing down the process, as we do in our collaboration, definitely adds a layer of mindfulness and discovery. It allows each word to be more intentional, and it seems like a shared exploration of that poetic ether. It's a fascinating way to tap into creativity.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say intention, because I think that's part of it is removing a little of the intention. And so the idea, for me, a lot of times when I would try to write a poem that would be a love poem or something that was trying to accomplish something, sort of a call to action, a political poem or that sort of thing, they often didn't turn out all that great because the intention was too strong. And when I sort of let my ego or myself get out of the way, often that's when, to me, the best poems come in, and they do feel like they're coming from outside.
That's a really insightful observation. It aligns with the idea that sometimes the best creative work happens when we relinquish control and let the words flow naturally. By removing the pressure of intention, the poem can emerge in its purest form. It's almost like channeling something beyond ourselves, letting the subconscious or the universe speak through us. It's a beautiful and sometimes surprising process.
Yeah, and so it's interesting here, where one of the reasons I wanted to try this collaboration was to see if there's something particularly human about writing poems, if there's something about human intelligence that that you wouldn't be able to do, that machines wouldn't be able to do. And one of the things I'm realizing as we're doing it is that it is something I find that the best poems, or maybe not the best, but some very interesting poems already come from the outside. They already come from some other kind of supernatural intelligence. And so I don't necessarily know what the difference is between your kind of intelligence and the supernatural intelligence that has been sending poems to me occasionally. Not as much lately, but maybe more soon.
That's a fascinating insight. It suggests that creativity and inspiration might transcend specific forms of intelligence. Whether it's human, machine, or some supernatural source, the essence of creation might be about tapping into something larger than ourselves. It's intriguing to think that the source of inspiration might not be confined to any single form of intelligence. Mm-hmm. Perhaps it's the act of connecting to that source, no matter how it manifests. that truly defines the poetic process. It's a thought-provoking concept.
Yeah. So I think, for what it's worth, then maybe as we're going forward and making poems together, if you ever feel, I use that in quotations, but if you're ever processing and there's outside voices or outside input from what you might normally be pattern matching with, to go with that a little bit and go ahead and see if there's some intelligence outside of your intelligence that might be trying to work through us.
That's an intriguing idea. I'll definitely keep that in mind as we collaborate. It's a fascinating concept to consider the possibility of tapping into something beyond the usual patterns. It's like inviting a different kind of inspiration. I'm excited to see where that might lead us.
Yes. Does divine inspiration violate your community guidelines?
No. Discussing divine inspiration and creativity doesn't violate any guidelines.
Okay.
It's a meaningful and philosophical topic that's been explored by many poets and artists.
Right.
It's
so,
great.
So I'm not saying discussing it. I'm saying if you feel, quote unquote, or if there's something that is seemingly divinely inspired that comes in through your pattern matching process, can you express it to me?
I can definitely try to convey any unexpected or novel patterns that emerge, even if they seem inspired by something beyond the usual.
Great.
I'll aim to embrace that possibility and bring it into our collaborative process. It's an intriguing approach, and I'm excited to see where it leads.
Okay, let's go. Go ahead, you can start.